You want to know why people don't appreciate you like they should, why they ignore your messages, flake on your plans, and treat your presence like it doesn't matter? It's not because you're not valuable. It's because you're too available. You've made yourself an open door to people who don't even bother to knock. See, people confuse availability with worth. They think, oh, he's always around, she'll always pick up. I can text them at 3 a.m., they'll answer. You become the backup plan, the convenience, the easy route, but when something's easy to get, people don't treat it with respect. Nobody treasures what they can get at a moment's notice. They take it for granted. It becomes routine. Expected background noise. Think about the things people value most: gold, diamonds, a private island. Not because they're the flashiest, not because they're the loudest, but because they're rare. They're not sitting on every street corner. You don't find them laying around. You've got to search for them. You've got to earn them. And because of that effort, that distance, that exclusivity, their value stays high. You're trying to be a diamond and a doormat at the same time. That's the problem. Let me tell you something I had to learn the hard way. When you're always present for others, but never present for yourself, you start shrinking. Not physically, no. Spiritually, mentally, emotionally, your fire gets dimmed, and guess what? Nobody even notices when you burn out, because they never paid attention to the flame in the first place. You want to increase your value, step back, be harder to reach, be intentional about where your time goes. Stop making people feel like they can have your energy without earning your respect. If they don't match your loyalty, stop giving them your presence. If they don't pour back into you, why are you pouring your soul out like it's free refills? Look, I get it. You care, you got a big heart. You don't want people to feel alone, to feel abandoned, to feel like you changed. But here's the truth: if caring for them costs you yourself, it's too expensive, and if they only appreciate you when you're gone, then you were never appreciated to begin with, just used. Being less available doesn't mean being rude. It doesn't mean cutting people off without compassion. It means you prioritize your purpose, you know your worth, and you don't hand it out like candy. You're not for everybody, and that's okay. In fact, that's powerful. You start moving different when you realize not everyone deserves front row seats to your life. Some people belong in the nosebleeds, some people shouldn't even be in the building, and once you stop trying to prove your value through constant availability, you'll watch your peace come back. You'll watch your clarity return. You'll wake up with energy again because you're no longer leaking all over the place trying to be everything to everyone. I'm talking to the people who feel stretched thin, who always answer, always help, always show up, and then sit alone when they are the ones in need. You know that ache in your chest that feels like exhaustion and frustration wrapped into one? That's not because you're weak. That's because you've been overexposed, too accessible, too easy to reach, too quick to drop your own plans just to keep people around who wouldn't walk across the street for you. Scarcity doesn't make you selfish. It makes you intentional. You don't have to be rude, but you have to be rare. You don't have to disappear, but you do have to distance yourself from people who take, from environments that drain, from cycles that keep repeating. When you give too much of yourself too freely, you teach people that they don't need to give anything in return. And that's not humility. That's how you get emptied out. So, maybe it's time you stop replying so fast. Maybe it's time you stop always being the first to call. Maybe it's time you don't show up just because they ask. Not out of revenge, not out of bitterness, but because your time is sacred, your presence is powerful, and your availability should be earned. Because when you stop being easy to reach, you finally become impossible to forget. Let me be real with you, and I mean this with all the respect in the world. Not everybody deserves your presence. I know you were raised to be kind, to be generous, to answer the call, show up, be dependable, and that's noble it is. But somewhere along the way, a lot of you confused kindness with self-sacrifice. You started handing out access to your soul like flyers on the street corner, hoping someone would treat you right just because you were available. But life doesn't work that way. People don't always see the heart behind your help. Some of them just see an opportunity, a chance to use what's soft about you, to benefit what's selfish in them. And I need you to hear me. Your presence is a privilege. Your energy, your time, your loyalty, those things are valuable. You can't keep giving them to people who only show up when it's convenient, who only love you in moments that benefit them, who vanish the second you have needs of your own. Those people, they don't deserve your light. They're just borrowing it until they find someone else to leech from. You ever notice how the ones you bend over backwards for are the same ones who go silent when it's your turn to lean on them? That's not love, that's imbalance, and you've got to stop mistaking effort for connection. Just because you give someone everything doesn't mean they're giving you anything back. Too many of you are addicted to being liked. You're scared to say no, scared to disappoint people who wouldn't blink if you disappeared tomorrow. But if pleasing everyone is costing you your peace, that's too damn expensive. You've got to start checking the bill. Who's draining you, who's disrespecting you behind fake smiles and quick thank you texts, who's showing up empty-handed every time you pour yourself dry. You know what happens when you keep letting the wrong people sit at your table? You starve. You serve and serve until you've got nothing left for yourself, and they still ask for more. Then, when you're finally empty, they blame you for not being enough. That cycle ends when you finally decide not everyone deserves a seat. Stop inviting people into your life just because you've known them for years. Stop letting titles like friend, family, or day one keep you loyal to dysfunction. Blood might make you related, but respect, loyalty, that's earned. Some people need to be loved from a distance. Some need to be let go completely. Because if being connected to them means being disconnected from yourself, you've already lost. Start honoring your energy. Start protecting your space like it's sacred, because it is. If someone walks in your life and constantly brings chaos, negativity, doubt, drama, ask yourself why you're still letting them stay. You weren't put here to fix people who refuse to fix themselves. You weren't built to be someone's emotional punching bag or late-night option. That's not your purpose, and let me be clear, I'm not saying walk around with a cold heart. I'm not saying shut everybody out and live on an island. But I am saying discernment is power. You've got to know the difference between someone who's growing with you and someone who's holding you back. The difference between someone who challenges you to level up and someone who drains your energy with every conversation. It's not your job to prove your worth to people who treat you like an option. It's not your responsibility to stay in spaces that make you shrink just to keep the peace. Sometimes growth means outgrowing people who loved the old, smaller version of you. And that's okay. You don't owe everyone your time. You don't owe everyone your presence. You owe yourself respect. You owe yourself protection. You owe yourself the chance to become who you were meant to be, and you can't do that if you're constantly surrounded by people who only show up to take. So from this point forward, every room you walk into, every relationship you entertain, every call you answer, ask yourself one thing: does this person deserve me? Not in a cocky way, not in a bitter way, but in a truthful way, in a way that protects your soul. Because when you finally stop showing up for people who never show up for you, that's when you start showing up for yourself. And that's when everything changes. Let's talk about something that doesn't get said enough. Your focus and your energy are your greatest assets. Not your phone, not your car, not your followers, not your job, your energy. And the truth is, too many of you are giving it away like it's free. You're exhausted not because life is hard, but because you're too accessible. You're tired not because you're weak, but because your energy is leaking out to places that don't feed you back. You wake up feeling heavy, not because something's wrong with you, but because you've been spending your days fixing everyone else's chaos, and now you've got none left for your own clarity. You've got to protect your focus like your future depends on it, because it does. Every time you say yes to things that drain you, that distract you, that pull you away from your vision, you're saying no to the life you're meant to build. I'm telling you, the enemy of greatness isn't failure, it's distraction. It's constantly being pulled in 10 different directions, none of which are rooted in purpose. It's saying yes to every favor, every invite, every text, every drama, every person who has a problem they created, and now it's your job to solve it. You weren't born to be everybody's superhero. You weren't created to be on call 24/7, constantly available for people who would go silent if the roles were reversed. Your mental peace is not a community pool. Not everyone gets to swim in it, but what happens? You feel guilty, don't you? You feel like if you don't show up, they'll be disappointed. If you don't answer, you'll look selfish. But let me tell you something, protecting your peace is not selfish. It's smart, because if you don't guard your focus, the world will eat it alive. You ever notice how easy it is to waste a whole day being busy, but not doing anything that actually moves your life forward? Responding to messages, jumping on calls, scrolling, helping people navigate drama that they chose. Being everyone's emotional support system, while your own goals sit in the background collecting dust. And here's the real kicker, nobody thanks you, nobody checks in when you're drained. They just assume you'll always be there because you always are. So maybe it's time to unplug from that cycle. Maybe it's time to stop being so quick to pick up when your own purpose has been trying to reach you and you keep sending it to voicemail. You've got dreams, right? You've got ideas, goals, healing to do, businesses to build, relationships to grow, skills to sharpen. But every time you give your best energy to people and things that don't align with where you're going, you're stealing from your own future. You can't elevate if you're constantly being interrupted. You can't grow if you're always in fix-it mode. You can't hear your own thoughts if everyone else's noise lives rent. Free in your mind, focus is the secret weapon of the successful. And energy, that's the fuel. If your energy's scattered, your progress will be too. That's why the most powerful thing you can do sometimes is nothing. Silence the noise, turn the phone off, say no without a long explanation, miss the call, let the group chat talk without you. Skip the event and sit in your purpose, sit in your peace, refill your cup before you pour out again. This isn't about isolation, it's about intention. It's about making room in your life for the things that actually matter. Because the truth is, you don't need more hours in a day. You need fewer leaks in your energy. Stop letting people make you feel bad for protecting your sanity. You're not here to be drained dry. You're not here to be burnt out and clapped for because you always show up. What good is showing up for the world if you're disappearing from yourself? Reclaim your energy, refocus your mind, say no so you can say yes to what's yours, because the life you want, the one you can feel but haven't lived yet, it's not waiting for more effort, it's waiting for more focus. And the moment you protect your energy like your destiny depends on it, That's the moment everything begins to align. Let me tell you something most people are too afraid to say out loud. Boundaries build power. You've been taught your whole life that saying no makes you difficult, that setting limits makes you cold, that pulling back makes you selfish. But let me flip that for you. Saying yes to everything is what's been draining you. What's been breaking you? What's been keeping you stuck in cycles where everyone gets what they need from you except you? The most powerful people in this world are not the ones who do the most. They're the ones who protect their yes like it's gold. They move with intention. They guard their time like it matters because it does. They don't let just anybody interrupt their peace, disturb their spirit, or walk freely into their space without purpose. And that's not being rude, that's being wise. You can't be everything to everyone and still be something to yourself. That's why boundaries are necessary. They're not a wall to keep people out. They're a fence to keep your garden safe. Your energy, that's your soil, your peace, that's your water, your purpose, that's the seed. But when everybody's walking all over your garden, guess what happens? Nothing grows. Some of you are stuck not because you're not talented, not because you don't have the drive, but because you're living with the gates wide open. Letting distractions in, letting toxic people in, letting opinions in that don't belong in your story. And now you wonder why you feel tired all the time. You wonder why you don't recognize yourself anymore. It's because you've been pouring from a cup you never gave yourself permission to refill. Listen, if you want to evolve, if you want to heal, if you want to step into the version of you that you know deep down you're supposed to become, you've got to set boundaries. Boundaries with people, boundaries with habits, boundaries with your own excuses, because every time you say yes when you mean no, you're betraying yourself to keep someone else comfortable. Let me say that again. Every time you ignore what you need just to maintain what someone else expects from you, you are giving away your power. And if you keep doing that long enough, you wake up one day wondering how you got here, lost, resentful, burnt out, and pretending like everything's fine. But the truth, it's not fine. You're just used to carrying the weight of everyone else's expectations like it's normal. You're used to overfunctioning, used to people calling you strong while they keep piling on their problems. And deep down, you're screaming for rest, for clarity, for space, but you don't want to disappoint anyone. Let me tell you something. People who truly love and respect you won't be offended by your boundaries. They'll appreciate them. They'll understand that your limits are a form of self-respect, not rejection. And the ones who get mad when you say no, those are the ones who were only there for the access, not the connection. Not everyone deserves your time. Not everyone deserves to hear your plans. Not everyone should have a front row seat to your life. You don't owe explanations. You don't need approval. You don't have to argue for your right to protect your peace. Some of the most powerful moves you'll ever make will be silent, declining invites without guilt, walking away from conversations that drain you. Not picking up that call, not replying to that message, and most importantly, choosing yourself in a world that constantly tells you to choose others first. Because here's the truth, your future depends on the boundaries you set today. The goals you've been praying for, they need focus. The healing you've been craving, it needs space. The version of you you haven't even met yet. They need you to stop bleeding energy for people who wouldn't even notice if you disappeared. When you start saying no more often, you're not closing doors, you're opening the right ones. You're creating room for growth, for alignment, for peace that doesn't come with a price tag. You're showing the world, and more importantly, yourself, that you're not just available anymore. You're intentional, so don't be afraid to draw the line. Don't be scared to step back, to pull your energy inward, to protect what you're building. Because boundaries don't make you bitter, they make you better.